Waterproof, sweat-proof makeup. I'm pretty sure that you're hearing this everywhere, and then I decided to come up with, a way of kind of doing it without it looking way too cakey. So here's a tutorial for you, and you can see that there's literally no transfer on my tissues. So the base is smudge-proof, waterproof. It holds all day long. You know how oily my skin is, and this is perfect for the summers. So let's start off. So for my skin prep, I used all kind of water-based products and avoid using something which is very thick or something like a facial oil. And then we're going to move on to setting our skin. So we're going to start by applying a thin layer of powder, and don't worry, this is not going to make your skin look cakey because you have prepped your skin really well. So that isn't going to happen. So we're using the K Beauty hydrating powder. So I'm going to use the K Beauty translucent powder, and I'm just using it on a puff. Don't do this with a brush because a brush wouldn't give you it wouldn't give you a much more smoother finish, and it doesn't really deposit the product well. So pat it really well into the skin using your puff, and then you can use a brush to kind of take away whatever is excess if there is any. So I'm just going to do that mainly to remove, anything which could be clinging onto the skin, or anything which is excess is going to start creasing. So we're going to take that off. And then we're going to move on to the Kryolan Derma corrector. So you can use any other liquid waterproof corrector if you have any, but I'm using the Kryolan Derma one because it's pretty versatile. So avoid using beauty blenders today, and if you really insist on using a beauty blender, then use it dry instead of wet because we don't want any water in our makeup. So the better option is to just go ahead with brushes. So I'm just going to apply it on all the areas wherever I have a bit of pigmentation, or there any tanning or any acne marks. So you can always skip this step if you're doing this for an everyday look. You can just go ahead directly to your concealer or even just to your foundation. So for concealer, I'm going to use the Derma concealer, and we're going to pat it on all the areas wherever we have the corrector. Make sure that you don't drag or you don't pull or you don't buff, because that is just going to make everything get completely mixed up and you're not going to have a very smooth and seamless effect. So it's better to kind of pat and layer your products instead of going with a lot of product in one shot. So make sure that you're properly patting it in and you're taking less than you're using, and that is going to give you a very flawless base. The skin will not get cakey if you're thinking that Derma products will. You just have to kind of rub your brushes on it and get the right amount of product and pat very little bit on top of your skin, and it's going to be pretty good and you're pretty much good to go. So after the concealer, we're going to use a stippling brush for that extra blending, and we're just going to kind of push it and pat it on top of the entire skin. So now moving on to the most important step, we're going to use a setting spray on our skin, and this is not a finishing mist, it is a setting spray. So we're going to apply that on the skin, and this is going to help to kind of behave like a gateway for your oils and for your sweats to come through. And then we're going to use the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation, and I'm also applying the same setting spray into that. This helps the foundation to be like transfer resistant. And then we're going to start to apply that on the skin. And as you saw, I took very little foundation because I have concealed and corrected. So there is no need of too much of foundation. So we're just going to use the stippling brush and kind of slowly just dab it onto the skin. And just remember that this one dries really fast because it has a setting spray inside it. So you might want to work in sections and make sure that you can kind of avoid any patches as you're going along. And then we're going to go in for another round of setting spray on the skin. To add some definition to the skin, we're going to use the Huda Tantour, and I'm using this in the shade medium. So again, I'm just kind of patting the product into the skin because there is setting spray underneath. And when there is setting spray underneath, if you're going to drag it, it's going to start to separate and it's going to look extremely crusty. So just work by patting the product in, and this is going to give you a good definition. The Huda one is extremely long wearing and it completely dries to a powder. So it's perfect for this look, and it just gives you the most natural definition and the most beautiful blend. I think this is perfect for a base like this. So just go ahead and contour your cheekbones and add a little bit along your jawline and the forehead. And then we're going to use the Rare Beauty cream blush. You can literally use any cream blush. And then we're going to use the Sugar liquid highlighter. Again, this highlighter is waterproof in nature. It barely even smudges and transfers. So we're going to use that on the cheekbones. And then we're going to go ahead to the K-Beauty powder and use it on a puff. Don't use it with a brush. Take a puff and take the powder and slowly start to dab that onto your skin. Give it a good push when you're doing this. You can also do this with a dry beauty blender. So nicely pack it in and push it into your skin. And as it's a translucent powder, it doesn't add any form of color or any extra amount of product on the skin. And it, like, at this point of time, my skin was looking pretty good and I did not feel like it was looking too heavy or it was cakey. Yes, it does give you a very full coverage look, but it does not feel heavy at all whatsoever. Once you're done patting it in, you can just go back to your brush and slowly tap off the excess powder if there's any. And your base is pretty dry, so it does not really absorb a lot of powder. So you will feel like there's a lot of powder which is flying away. And then we're going to go back to the all-nighter setting spray and go for around 1 spritz of it. Wait for it to dry and then you can go ahead with the same setting spray or another one. And this will be the completed look with the eyes and the lips done. So pretty easy, pretty basic, and you can always skip out on the correcting part if needed. And this is to show you that my base is waterproof, and you'd see that the water is not kind of sinking inside and it's not separating the makeup, so it just kind of repels, that's basically what is happening. And then there is no transfer on my tissue. I did try this a couple of times to get a good shot, so I was pouring water a couple of times and there was no transfer even after that. This base lasts on my skin, and I have extremely oily skin, and this is the only thing which holds really well on my skin. So I hope you all enjoyed this one, and let me know down in the comment section below when you try it out, and let me know how it goes. And until next time, bye.